Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this first construction industry brown bag presentation. I'm Dan Weinkoff of Integrity Grading and Excavating, current president of Wisconsin Transportation Builders Association. This brown bag luncheon series is intended to highlight key issues and developments within our transportation construction industry. It is our intent to feature a topic every other month in this virtual format. We'd like the input of WTBA members to make this series valuable to you. If there's a topic, issue, or process that you feel would add value for others in the construction industry, please contact WTBA's office. We're trying to avoid presentations that are simply sales and marketing, but if your company is doing something new and innovative that will provide information the membership can use, and you would like to talk about it, contact the WTBA office about brown bag presentations. Let's get into today's topic. SVA Consulting recently teamed up with Wingra Stone to develop a data-driven process for managing resources at Wingra's pits and quarries. The results included more efficient operations, better customer service, and improved planning for future market demands. The point is, with vision, any business today can improve their ability to make better data-driven decisions using practical technology solutions. If you have any questions during the presentation, simply type it into the chat box and we'll do a live question and answer at the end. To tell you more, I'd like to turn it over to the folks at SVA Consulting.
Hello. Thank you for joining the first Brown Bag Lunch series from WTBA on becoming a data-driven organization. We hope you find this session not only intriguing, but also inspiring, as we will be demonstrating an anonymized version of a solution created for one of your fellow members. My name is Jenny Harretts, and I'm a principal at SVA Consulting. At SVA Consulting, we think of ourselves as business people that understand technology. I've been working at SVA for 20 years in June, in various roles, from implementing business systems to leading our analytics practice, as well as working with clients in developing strategic technology plans.
And my name is Christina Garrett, and I'm a senior business analyst at SVA Consulting. The best way to describe my role is part-time storyteller and part-time translator. I listen to our clients' needs, translate this into technical requirements for our development team, and create analytics to help our stakeholders see the story created by their own data.
So everybody talks about becoming a data-driven organization, but why become one? Data-driven organizations are organizations that make informed decisions based on fact rather than gut reaction or observations. There's a bunch of research out there on this. So what Forrester found is that data-driven companies that harness the insights across their organization actually can create competitive advantage and grow at an average of more than 30% annually. MIT did some research among different organizations and asked them, do you have a strong analytical culture? Of the companies that did have a strong analytical culture, 48% significantly exceeded their business goals. In the group that did not have as strong of an analytics culture, a very, very small percentage, 22%, exceeded their business goals. But what's happened in the last 15 years is, or last 15 months, it feels like 15 years, doesn't it? That is actually accelerated. Accenture just did some research saying, how did this post-pandemic thing happen? What they found with tech adoption innovation is that those companies that invested have actually grown their revenues at 5 times the rate of the laggards within their group. This is an acceleration from the pre-pandemic times, when at that point, those that invested in technology outpaced their peers by 2 times. The pandemic has forced us to really leverage data far more than we needed to before, because we don't have the visibility into what's happening out in the field and in our businesses. So here's an example of what living in a data-driven organization might look like. So this is a pretty broad-ranging example, and we're taking a look at a number of different areas within the company. So here we're looking at how does revenue compare to budget? How does it compare to prior years? How does revenue compare to profits? Down at the bottom, we're thinking about who are our customers? Who are kind of the rising stars? Who should we call for falling stars that used to order from us that aren't? When we take a look at our customer performance and some of our top customers, where are we doing a lot of volume with not a whole lot of profit? Or where are we doing a lot of profit without a lot of volume? Let's just better focus and think about where should we be spending our time. But this doesn't happen overnight, right? Like there's some effort that went into this. Where do you even start? An example we're going to walk through with you is what we would call a company that's really handled or really kind of dove into that small circle of success, and one that we started with focusing on a very specific business problem. So in a minute, Christina's going to walk you through a sample dashboard based on an actual dashboard that we did for Winger Stone. And what Winger Stone was trying to do was take a process that they needed to go through to identify what inventory is out in their different locations and how can they better get it to their customers. For the sake of privacy, the data has been changed, but I think you'll enjoy the story. So with that, I will turn it over to Christina.
Thanks, Jenny. So when we talked to Winger at first, Winger's customer fulfillment team wanted better, more timely visibility into how much inventory was on hand at each site, allowing them to make faster decisions about how best to fulfill customer orders, decreasing both the time to determine where to fill orders from, as well as potentially the miles products needs to travel to the client site, allows Winger to help their customers save money, receive materials faster, and be more competitive in the field. So working with Winger, we built two different dashboards to kind of answer these business problems. The first one that I'm showing you is our inventory positions dashboard. So week to week, what inventory do we have on hand at each site by material? So users can select a particular week and see how it changes using the beginning balance and then collecting data from a number of different sources, whether it is the order system or where production or aggregate consumption, and add it all together in order to figure out how we go from our beginning balance in that week to where we ended up at the end of the week. The user can consume this as a lump sum for the entire week, or we can look at it by the location. At the locations, you can also see how each of the material is consumed from beginning to end. We can also look at it by material. Additionally, we can look at it by week, but we also may want to see how we are trending through the year. So below that, we are looking at sales and production, comparing the current year's performance against last year's performance. And what this does is it allows us to see how we're trending compared to what we've done previously.
So far more than just showing a number or showing what the balance of inventory is at a particular location, what this allows Winger users to do is to actually see the relativity of it. So how does sales compare to production? How does one site compare to the other? How does one product compare to the other? Rather than giving the answer, you can see with some of the interactivity, they can drill down into it and start to answer the question of why. Why is this number different than before? Why is this number, why should we ship from this location versus another?
It's also going to allow them to preempt what they may know to be coming. So if they know big orders are coming, they can start to ramp up production and put it in the appropriate locations at the appropriate sites in order to make sure that they're prepared for that.
Finally, what's incorporated in this dashboard also is a best practice in answering the question of what does this mean to the user? So you see the little eyes in different parts of the dashboard. One common pitfall we'll see companies make or companies that are trying to transition to a data-driven organization is they say, Well, what does that really mean? What does performance mean? What does production mean? Does that include this type or that type? We actually give those definitions right in the dashboard itself, so that there is no question or ambiguity. We're talking about the data, not what does the data mean or what's the definition of it.
Thanks, Jenny. In addition to being able to see the inventory positions by site or by material, one of the primary things we're trying to answer is, as we're getting orders, where should we fulfill them from? And what we've done is we've built a tool that is going to empower the user to take where the customer may be and determine what the best site to ship from to that customer. If most cost is tied up in logistics, we want to make sure that a particular site has enough of a product to select that one in order to ship to that customer. Additionally, it can hopefully answer questions of, if we don't have enough of that product, should we maybe transfer it from another site, or should we produce more? So what this does is, as we're getting customers that are building maybe a new development and they need something out there, we gave the granularity of a latitude and a longitude in order to get a pretty pinpointed location. And what you'll see here is the deeper oranges are showing the closest customer based on the product that we may need, the furthest as it gets lighter, and then there's no product available with the black. And what you'll see is, as we change, you'll see the color shifts based on the location that we're selecting to identify which sites are closer with the amount of material that we may need. Another thing that we can do is, currently we're looking at all materials, but you may know that we want a particular amount of materials part of the order. And so that'll highlight where those particular materials are available. The other thing we can look at is, by site, you can actually drill down and see which materials are available. So not only can we use this map in order to determine the customers, but we can also get just a pretty quick way of seeing which locations have what materials, but also what materials are available at which locations and how much. So when trying to answer the questions of how can we save our customers money and how can we continue building up these relationships, by using data and using these dashboards, we're hoping to increase and intensify those relationships in order to make sure that they continue coming back. And I'll hand it back to you, Jenny.
Thanks, Christina. So what we shared from the example from Wingra was a really targeted solution. So being able to answer the question of how much product do we have and how quickly, or what's the best place to pull it from to ship to a customer, isn't a novel insight for Wingra. What we did is we actually automated the process of collecting that data and then made it available so that the end users could interact with it and answer questions quickly, ultimately helping their customers. What we would say is that that's a targeted area and what we would call a small circle of success. The previous example we showed you is the same concept, just a little bit wider. So when you think about those, why does this work? Why does it help become, why do those data-driven companies outperform their peers? Well, there's a couple different reasons. First of all, what gets measured gets managed. You put a scoreboard out in front of somebody and they know what they need to do. They want to be able to run up that score. What it does is it brings clarity to what success or what failure looks like. It focuses you on the right business questions and being able to answer some of those. Then it helps you drive actions based on fact, not gut or knee-jerk reactions or the last customer that called. You can see the full landscape and make decisions based on that. It's founded in a culture of empowerment. So the premise is that people will do the right thing for the company when the goals are clear and they have the information that they need to know when to act and they can see progress toward that goal. Our thoughts and our approach is to industrialize this over time. So Winger knew what they needed to analyze and what they needed to measure and what decisions they needed to make to better serve customers. What we did is we created an efficiency by automating that process. By creating that efficiency, it allows them to make better decisions faster and lets them to be more interactive. From that, then you can understand the value of the information you have and continue to increase that footprint, industrialize it over time. So again, that's what we call the small circles of success. If you create an iterative, agile process, you can start to expand and start to drive that culture. It creates what we call an invest to grow cycle. So you start to get the benefit from the investment that you made, and then you grow it, offering better service to your customers, offering data to more of your stakeholders and decision makers, and so on. So in summary, what are some of the key lessons learned? The first thing is take a business first approach. Start with what your plan or your strategy is, identify your metrics, measure them, and then automate that. If you think about what business questions you want to answer and then how you get at that information, you'll make a far better, more impactful solution. What we'll sometimes see instead is people say, hey, here's some information I got out of my ERP. And what they end up doing is working through like, hey, what does this really mean to me? If you start first with the business questions you need to answer, you'll have a much, much smoother path. The other thing we'll sometimes hear people say is that they're looking for a silver bullet. Well, I bought XYZ package and it's going to create some dashboards. It's going to be great. That's not always a great idea because people start sifting through that information. Automating a bad process just makes a fast, bad process. So if you really, again, focus on the business first, don't think there's a silver bullet out there. Start small and get experience and benefit from that. The last thing we wanted to share with you is that analytics isn't just for the big guys. We'll hear people say, yeah, but we're not Amazon, we're not Facebook. Of course not. As you saw from some of those earlier statistics, innovation, data-driven and technology is permeating all industries at all different levels. If you prioritize what you need, it's actually really, really attainable. You can start with those small circles of success and use that experience and the outcomes to expand your footprint. Some people start really, really fast and start with a big project and a big solution. That's fine. Some start more slowly, and that's fine too. Both are better than starting with nothing. Thank you for spending your lunch with us. We're happy to take some questions during our live Q&A session. We hope that you found this both informative and inspiring.